Thanks, Jeffrey. Dr. Ellis, I share your views, your atheistic or agnostic views. Yours sound more agnostic. I assume you intertwine those views in with your counseling. But I wanted to give you this question. Clearly, there's no empirical evidence of these gods existing, but there are some people who I consider perhaps maybe of a weaker moral fiber who need this spiritual hammer, this threat and reward system, or they're going to do some very bad things. So if a patient came to you and said, if it wasn't for the fact that I would go to hell, I would probably give in to my urges to abuse young children, what would you tell that person? Would you try to counsel that person through an atheistic or agnostic viewpoint? Or, I mean, I guess my question is it dangerous to tell some of these people, some of your religious beliefs or atheistic beliefs, if you feel that it's the only thing keeping them from being antisocial and harming other people? How would you handle that situation?
No, it's not dangerous telling them your religious beliefs, but it has its hazards, dangers, and therefore normally I wouldn't. If somebody said that, I might say to him or her that I don't think that you're going to go to hell or there is a hell or anything like that, and I think there are other reasons, but if you want to believe that you're going to go to hell if you do a really immoral act, then by all means use that to help deter you from doing the act. Now you can find probably 5 or 10 other reasons aside from going to hell. And it's dangerous to think that you'll go to hell, because even if you don't do that act, how do you know what other acts you'll go to hell with? Being afraid of going to hell. But I frequently tell the story of one of our therapists who is a Mormon priest and who teaches at a Mormon university. And he teaches rational emotive behavior therapy. He's a clinical psychologist. So he has to tell his Mormon students and his clients at their clinic that if they're gay, the Mormon Bible says they go to hell. They roast in hell for eternity. So he says to them, if you're a Mormon and you believe in the Mormon Bible, then you'll believe that you'll roast in hell for eternity if you're gay. But it's not awful. It's highly inconvenient roasting in hell. So he uses rational emotive behavior therapy to help them whether or not they roast in hell.
Yeah, Dr. Ellis, you mentioned earlier that we accept the person unconditionally, but we question whether their behavior is good or bad and try to guide them to good behavior. How do you decide what is good and bad behavior or moral versus immoral behavior from your position?
There are no absolute rules of deciding, because different families and different cultures have different rules, and we honor that fact. But usually the person believes that he or she or both have a certain standard that they want to uphold, and it's immoral or wrong to not uphold. So we usually use their standard and the standard of their particular family and culture. But there's no absolute way of doing that. And each culture sets rules, which we call morals and laws. Then we would say, according to those views which you seem to uphold, it is very bad that you did this, or at least somewhat bad, but you are never a bad person, because a bad person would always and only do bad things and would have to do them in the future as well as the present, and nobody is in that category. And we quote Alfred Korzybski, the head of General Semantics, who said that you overgeneralize, I did poorly and I am a failure, hopeless failure, and thereby upset yourself. And we agree with him, and especially put the shoulds, oughts, and musts in, that I must absolutely do well if I could determine what well is. But as you point out, you'll never absolutely determine what is right, what is wrong. But every culture, every society has to have some standards of values, otherwise they'd probably kill each other. So we usually take that and determine by that standard what is right and wrong. That the human is allowed to, has the privilege of being wrong, doing wrongly, but he better not be happy about it and better not rate, evaluate, measure himself or herself, and then we hope that she and he will change the wrongness and act more morally in their culture.
If you can hear my mic, I'm not sure. I'm always having mic trouble. But Dr. Ellis, I want to get back on the subject of creativity. You know, it takes two people to create one, and I'm just wondering, where do you think the first two people came from? And after you answer this question, Abby will be up because I won't be on the mic again.
Okay, did you hear the question, Dr. Ellis?
Two people came from. Yes, where the first two people came from. I would say that they came from, there weren't probably just two of them, but several people came from a very long line of evolutionary progress over the years and ascended the scale. They didn't do it themselves, but they were at the top of the scale and became, first of all, almost human, had many human traits, and then finally they developed into what we now call human. So I think they developed and developed and developed, and I doubt whether there again were just two of them, Adam and Eve or anything like that, but there were several probably who developed around the same time.
Okay, Abby, go ahead.
And act more morally in their culture.
That wasn't my question, but I want to try to follow up from that. Then are you saying that man evolved from apes? It would be like a yes or a no.
Not exactly, but from ape-like creatures.
Okay, are you aware of the study in England and also in Australia, that the DNA that they have discovered is completely different from the apes, which would contradict what you just said, number one. Number two, do you advocate illegal drugs for the use of society? And what do you think that has to do with family values and the problems, the social problems that we're having in the United States and the world right now?
So, number one, I don't know about that study, and I'll be glad to read it if you send me a copy of it. Number two, I don't advocate illegal drugs at all. Even if they were legalized, I still wouldn't advocate most of them, because the great majority of the drugs which are now illegal do much more harm than good. It's not that they never do any good, and there was just a study in the other day in the New York Times which reported that LSD substances, which are somewhat illegal, may help a few of the people some of the time.